Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another PM podcast of Down the Line with Jeremy Humphrey. We're picking up steam with interviews now. We're starting to get more and more coaches out there and spreading the word around. So I appreciate everybody with subscribing to the YouTube channel. Today's PM podcast interview is going to be with Bridgeport softball head coach Tim Smith. Thank you, Coach, for coming on. Like I just said, I'm happy to finally get some softball coaches going. I feel like the whole podcast, other than Coach Triff, has been highly dominated by baseball coaches. So thank you for coming on board tonight.
Coach Humphrey, appreciate the invite. Thank you. Thanks for being the one of the voices of the Valley and getting the softball word out there to the people.
Thank you again, and I appreciate you. You said you went and looked at a couple of podcasts, and you got to watch a couple of them. So I really appreciate you taking the time, because I know that's a long time out of your day to go in and watch a couple hour-long podcasts. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you have some really good content. So again, I appreciate the invite. I'm glad Davey Johnson tagged me in the post, and we were able to get you some inside leads there for some other coaches.
Absolutely. So let's get a little introduction about yourself. How long you've been coaching at Bridgeport? How long you've been coaching softball in general? Just a little background about yourself.
For those that don't know me, my name is Tim Smith. I'm the head softball coach at Bridgeport. This spring is my fourth year at Bridgeport for softball. 10 of the last 12 years before that, I coached high school baseball at Bridgeport as well. So this is my 14th year coaching high school sports. 2008 graduate from Bridgeport. Played all 4 years of high school. Growing up, I was a second baseman. But once I got to high school, I transitioned to playing third base and shortstop. That was just the need at the time. And I was willing to answer the call and give it a shot and kind of see where we were at. But I had an incredible 4-year career at Bridgeport. At the time, I thought I was a big fish in a small pond, which I might have been. But that's for others to say. That's not exactly for me to come up with. But I was highly recruited at the Division II level. It came down to Ohio Valley University in Vienna, West Virginia, and Fairmont State University in Fairmont, West Virginia. At the time, it was called the WVIAC Conference, which has like West Liberty, Wheeling Jesuit, which is now Wheeling University now.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was the winter of my senior year. I signed a national letter to play for Ohio Valley University for Coach Porter, and I had an incredible senior year. I was looking forward to moving down to that area, and he made a coaching change. He decided to move to Texas, and I didn't want to make the move at that time. And so it's like calling up the backup, and so I called Fairmont State back, and I said, actually, I'm interested in doing this. It was also, both of those communities are really good baseball schools, you know what I mean? And so I walked on my freshman year, and it wasn't exactly what I'd bargained for. I was now a small fish in a bigger pond.
Yeah.
And so essentially, when it comes to coaching, when my playing career kind of came to an end, my coaching career kind of started. So in the spring of 2009, there was an alumni baseball game down at Perkins Field in Bridgeport, and my high school summer league coach was just talking. He's asking me how it was going, and kind of what my plans were. And I kind of told him, like, I'm not playing college baseball right now. And, I was moving back home during the summer months in school. I was just going there during the school year, come back during the summer. And Coach Don Cashy reached out, and he just said, hey, we need an assistant for high school summer league baseball. So you're being graduated at 19. That's kind of how my coaching career began. I was an assistant for the high school summer league baseball program for 2 years. At 21, I became the head coach for additional 2 years, and man, I had to learn on the go. It was so quick.
Yeah.
You're just thrown into the fire, but it was good. I was definitely ready for those experiences, and we had those 2 seasons were incredible. The program was continuing to grow.
Good. Good.
I then I moved to Akron, to the University of Akron, to continue my education, not to play baseball, but also took a job on at the same time. But we didn't have enough for high school summer league baseball at that time. for 2013, 2014. So kind of gave that a little bit of a break. And then I moved back to Bridgeport. What was it, the fall of 2015? And Don Cash looked out for me again. He heard that I'd moved back to the area, and he said, "Hey, we actually have a position that's open for spring baseball, and we really need help with the JV kids. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And and I worked with mostly varsity and JV from 2015 to through 2020.
Okay.
Um, we had, I think it was the most wins in 2015. We had all kinds of incredible talent that went on to play at the next level, like Bailey McGrath, who's the head coach down in Belair for
Yeah.
baseball. Parker Dyson, he played West Liberty. We had some good wrestlers at the time too, both Tino and Carlos Cusick. Um, and then, yeah, so go through 2020, which was just a really crazy time.
Yeah.
Coming out of the pandemic, 8 days before practices had started, former athletic director, he's at Martins Ferry now, Greg Harkness, he had reached out and he's like, "Hey, we need a softball coach. And we know you've been with us for a little while. What's your thoughts?" And there I was at St. Clair's with Walmart merchandising product for a company I was working for at the time. I got a
Yeah.
Facebook message and I just jumped with joy, and I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, you ain't gonna believe this, but like, I think there's a softball opportunity to coach." And she was all for it, and I was like, "Yeah, let's run for it and let's see what happens." And
Awesome.
and I've been there ever since 2021. And we've been growing and developing the program, and it's something that I look forward to each spring. It's just so tough to get through the winter months sometimes, but once we get to spring, we know it's
Yeah.
things are happening, and it gets you in the groove. And the next thing you know, summer's here. So
Absolutely. So let's
yeah.
talk about transitioning from baseball to softball. How difficult was it to make that transition to learn pitching styles and slap hitting and all the things that are affiliated with softball instead of those 90-foot bases and everything else?
I'll tell you this: I'm still learning in today's day and age.
Yeah.
I think that that's something I've been learning since from 19. I'm 34. I'll be 35 in July. Um, you know, there are a lot of similarities. There's some different style of pitches, rise ball, drop ball.
Yeah.
Uh, the bases being a lot shorter. Um, I didn't know that I would like it as much as what I do now.
Right.
With those bases being that closer, oh, it's so critical to make a play in the infield. In baseball, if you bobble it, you can gather yourself up very quickly and still get the out at first. Whereas in softball, you don't have that. Bunting is incredible. It's so important, and it's one of the fundamentals that I wish the girls would learn a lot at an earlier age.
Yeah.
The coach pitch goes through 10U, and just that part of it doesn't develop until they get older. But man, bunting is so important to get runners over. Even if it's just to get them in the scoring position from first to second, it's so critical. And then the you can't make as many mistakes. You make a mistake, it could be a dagger in the heart so quickly. But the other cool part of it is too is that you have to score a bunch of runs. In
Yeah.
baseball, you talk about the three areas. Batting, pitching, fielding. You really need all three for softball, and you got to score a bunch of runs, and you can't let off the gas as soon as you put the brake on. Then you got to gather yourself again. You got to start back over.
Yeah, I think that transition would be difficult for the at least the pitching side of things for me to try and figure out how to do all of that. Everything else, like you said, is somewhat same. Slapping and pitching would be the two things. Your 2023 season, we were talking before. You were saying your 2022 season was a little rough. Your 2023 season, you got a little better. What are your expectations going from 2023?
So there, that'll lose you.
Can you hear me? Are we having problems? Can you hear me?
I don't know if you can hear me. You still there?
You there, Coach?
Yeah, I'm there. I think we can hear each other. I think we're on the same wavelengths there. You know what I mean?
Okay. So what I was trying to say is trying to discuss how your transitions from 2022 to 2023. You said every year so far you've gotten better every single year. What are your expectations for 2024?
I'm the type of guy, I try to take things 24 hours at a time. I just try to do the best I can with what I have. Expectations would just be like anything else. You just things one game at a time. And I think with 10 returning letter winners, numerous first-team All-VAC players that are on the roster, experienced pitching that's back, quality senior leadership that, I can't ask for much better. The girls that are with me now that are seniors, they've been with me all 4 years. So they kind of know what to expect, and they're incredible guides for the underclassmen and the freshmen. And, they're not coming in. Like I said, we try to take things one game at a time. Times of, both hot and cold, but you just do the best you can with what you have. Especially at a small school, you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You just ride the wave. And like I said, it's literally just one game at a time and see where you're at.
Yeah. Well, you're sitting in the OVAC standings right now at 2-5. I know with the weather, the way it's been this past week, it's been rough. I know y'all sit on the other side of the road there in Bridgeport. The baseball team, obviously, in the football field is completely underwater. What's next week look like with reschedules and different things like that?
You got a lot of questions there, which are all really good. In the OVAC standings, right now, I don't really pay attention too much because it's kind of skewed with the the point system. So if you've played less games and you're undefeated, that kind of pushes you up towards the top. You know what I mean? So I think once other schools start playing more games, we'll kind of get balanced out there and we'll kind of move up a little bit per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As for the schedule itself, next week we're loaded with games. We have 7 games in 6 days, including a road trip to Highland, including a road trip to Payne City, Frontier. That's a big thing too with small schools, with not as many small schools in areas what there once used to be. Those road trips are true road trips. Those are solid
Right.
hour 15, 2-hour drives to where you need to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As for makeups, right now, some of our West Virginia schools where they start a week earlier and they finish a week earlier, that's a little tough. Us and Weir Madonna have such similar schedules
Right.
that right now we're having a hard time finding a date there. I think Valley will get made back up, and with Shadyside being a Division IV Eastern opponent, I do believe that one will be made up eventually too. But next week, I mean, we're Monday through Saturday, which is awesome. It's another reason why I kind of load up the schedule. We play the maximum 27 games because with the high weather, as you can see, sometimes you go a whole week or 10 days without playing a game. So it normally averages out to about 20 games. Schedule-wise, I'm really proud of the girls. The hitting has been the best it's been in 4 years. I know, I've gotten a couple messages here and there, like with the record, but those programs that we've played against have actually made us better and more competitive, and has kind of exposed some of our weaknesses, but it's getting us ready for the second half of the season. I mean, when you talk about programs like Shadyside, Barnesville, River 2, very experienced in the coaching department. I mean, They are such well functioning systems and programs that, yeah, we're 2-5. Barnesville just they mashed the ball in the doubleheader. There's nothing we could do there. I mean, we hung right there with
Yeah.
Shadyside and River. Just a bad inning or two. Um, but no, I think coming up though, I think we see a different. I think we see a different team, but also too with hitting and pitching, and making the necessary plays in the field. I think that stuff turns around. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, it's always better, I feel like, in your scheduling
Yeah.
to try yourself with better teams at the beginning of the season, get a feel for where you're at, work on some things, and then hit the postseason, running full steam ahead with your schedule. Looking at it right now, like you said, you got next Saturday, you got Crestline, which is from the Northwest, you said, or west of Cleveland, and then Highland. Highland's tough in every sport that they play, so I can only imagine what their softball team is like as well. And then you come back the next week after that, and you got Madonna at home, at Bellsville, at Toronto, at St. Clairsville for 2 games of a doubleheader. I mean, you're gonna end as good as you started. It feels like, because those are all what I feel like from knowledge wise. Those are all pretty tough teams. Can you hear me? Still good?
Yeah, Division 4 East Ohio is not for the weak. When you look at the entire district and region, I mean, you have Strasburg Franklin that's backed up there. Yeah, can you hear? Yeah, I'm still good. You good?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. I feel like can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Division 4 Eastern League. When you look at the entire district of state champions, Kanawha Valley, they've been in the district finals with Strasburg Franklin the last 3 years. All 3 years, it's been those two schools competing for the district championship. Um, and again, you look at some of those schools too, where Madonna is not one to shy away from. I always treat that as a rivalry game for us. Those are
Okay.
two small schools that it is always a close game in and out. You know what I mean? Frontier, solid pitching year in and year out. Like I said, Shadyside. Um, St. Clairsville is a bigger school, Division 3. I feel like who we can compete with, but that's where we were really fortunate with 4 scrimmages and 7 games in the first 6 days, to where we can see what works, what doesn't work, things that we can improve on, and I think that's what's going to get us ready for the second half. Unfortunately, rain had other factors for us this week. I think that would have. I think it would have got us closer to 500 for sure. And then with Union Local trying to get us tomorrow, I think we're going to cut into that deficit and get us to where we need to be OVAC standing wise. But like I said, Division 4 Eastern Ohio, it is one of the strongest. If we were not in that region, I think this team could push the factors against other teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you have all those IVC schools and OVAC schools that are there, just winning a sectional game is a huge accomplishment. You know what I mean? Qualifying for OVACs, where they only take the top 4 schools, again, is another huge accomplishment. So you take the good with the bad, and that's where when you were talking about expectations earlier. I just take it 24 hours at a time, just see where we're at health wise, and just play the game the best we can for that day, and then just build on that and just bring that to the ball field again the next day.
Absolutely. I'm trying to talk about recruiting. What is your take on recruiting, and how do you approach recruiting for softball? Um, there's some teams that use Athletes Go Live, some just use Game Changer, Twitter, all of the things above. What is your style, and what is your take on all that?
I guess I'm an old school guy because I'm one of those guys that I still give the signs at the third base box, coach's box. You know what I mean? Where other schools yell like blue 9 triangle, or they read off the wristband. And when you ask other
Yeah.
schools, they'll even tell you, "Hey, my kids, we read it off to them, and they still don't know what it is." So I guess in regards to recruiting, I'm that old school guy, and knowing we didn't have social media while we were growing up. We didn't have as great technology. We didn't have the ins and outs on certain things. So I still feel even in today's day and age, you will be seen, you will be heard. There's so many multiple outlets that are out there, newspaper, radio, when you go to certain schools, social media. I haven't had any kids yet that had that interest at the next level for softball where they were like, hey, what can we do? I've had different colleges reach out, and I've sent off like different softball camps and clinics just to go from there. With Bridgeport being a small school, I think my coaching approach there is to put the girls in winning positions that they might not normally play. That's what kind of happened for me. And then I think once you get that exposure, different positions, other schools will be able to see that. I would say, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I guess I kind of give that to the parent and the player to be able to do that. I know inside our facilities, like in the basketball gym, obviously volleyball and basketball, they can get some recordings and stuff like that there, where we don't have that exactly yet. For softball, maybe that's something for the future. But again, I think with parents and with the way that they record video and get it on social media, I think that's kind of their best way right now. You know what I mean? I guess that would be for the recruiting end, you know what I mean? But with Bridgeport, I work with kids from never playing before to they've got 4-6 years experience before they come to me. And we've been able to turn student athletes into starting varsity players with no experience. I guess that's kind of something that, not to brag about myself, but what the coaching staff is we kind of use those girls that's never played before. They don't have that background or that knowledge. So things that we're giving them, they're starting out on a good note. You know what I mean? And our girls that are experienced for day to day.
So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I don't want to cut you off and cut the interview short, because I definitely enjoy. Obviously, I wouldn't have done this if I didn't enjoy the talking part of baseball and softball. I just don't. I think maybe the weather is causing some service issues or something. But I do have one question that I want to ask you, and then I'll text you later on, and we'll try and double back up together after your Highland games and stuff. You've played baseball, you've coached softball. What is harder,
absolutely.
hitting softball or hitting softball?
It's hard to say hitting a softball, a fast pitch softball. Slow pitch is a whole nother thing. I can match that pretty well.
Yeah.
I got to give the girls credit with the mound not being as far back as what baseball is, and the different styles of pitches and the junk balls and the curve balls. I think if I answer the other way, I think I get ripped on saying that. You know what I mean? I think they're both equally difficult. Basketball, football, those other sports for sure. But I'm going to say, since we're saying on softball topic, definitely or dropping down to your ankles. You know what I mean? I think that I'm going to go with that. A lot of patience and a lot of hand-eye coordination to be able to pull it off.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, like I said, I hate to cut it short. I don't know what's going on with the service and whatnot. I'll send you a text. We'll touch back up together, and then hopefully on part 2 we'll be able to continue this conversation.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time out of your evening, and hopefully the connection's a little bit better next time. But yeah, anytime you want to talk baseball, softball, I'm always a phone call or text message away.
I'm gonna hit you up. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely,
All right,
I appreciate it.
Thank you again, and good luck on your 7 games in 6 days. Hopefully, they don't get dehydrated or anything like that. Good luck to you. I'll be watching for the Highland game and Crestline. I want to see how that goes for you. Good luck this week.
Absolutely appreciate it. We're going to turn the page here starting tomorrow. So just be ready for it. We're ready for it too.
Absolutely, I like it. Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks, sir.